And also, we are also pushing for the anti-pilferage bill on risk reduction, equipment and facilities, which is a big problem with respect to Pag-asa and PhilBox, because our equipments, the very little that we have, radars are being pilfered, and millions of lives depend on this equipment, especially when floods rise, water level rises, and the communities are submerged. And we're doing a lot of things in this area, but the problem that we really see is actually the local communities not being properly informed. It's actually the education part of climate change na hindi na we are not addressing the education part of the vulnerable communities, because this is where you build your resiliency.
So your question is about ICT and addressed to...
ICT in terms of educating the public, because I have not seen that in your presentation.
Okay.
The lady from the climate change.
Okay, and then
of course the role of the Department of Science and Technology in your presentation.
Okay. To be answered by Lorraine. That's the last question from Ambassador Tanggol.
Dr. Tanggol from MSU IIT. I think part of my concern has been replied to by Lorraine. Any serious effort really must proceed from a serious policy study. Any serious program must proceed from a sufficient information base. We have so many programs and policies regarding climate change, the environment, and so on. But I want to ask if we really have an actual study, either in the planning stage or already done, as regards the extent of our problem, and also something that looks into, analyzing the existing programs and policies of the national government, including LGUs, so that you really can come up with a very good framework. Second point is, I come from the academe, and in fact we have been partnering with so many institutions. I just signed a MOA with DA PFAR about aquasilviculture, which is somehow also being related to this problem. We are a member of PATLIPAM. We are about to have an agreement also with the DENR about this greening program. So as far as the Commission is concerned, do you have some programs where you can partner with the academe? I come from Iligan. Some of the pictures shown, one of those people there was our Dean of the College of Education, whose house was really washed away by Sendong. Thank you.
Two questions. One is on economic valuation, and the answer is no. There's no integrated economic valuation. In fact, that's one of the major issues that was before the President on his mining EO, because a number of us had proposed it, and it was in the original draft, but the mining industry opposed it, basically saying that, well, it shouldn't only be for mining, it should also be for all the different industries. The problem is you have to start somewhere, right? And so basically I know that the President orders the departments to actually begin the study for an integrated economic valuation of the environment, just so that we would have a baseline. And as I said, I agree that until that's done, I mean, you are always guessing the value, which is a problem. And I would just, what I wouldn't apply is the precautionary principle for that. Then I want to answer that last comment, one of the last comments about policy studies. I mean, every single one of these laws actually were preceded by very strong policy studies that analyze our vulnerabilities, that analyze the existing system. So we're actually in that's also not where the problem is. I think the problem is still a question of designing the right institutions to respond to the problem, and there, the policy studies that we have done have not been very useful now, because I think there's a difference between a policy study and an institutional analysis, and I think we lack the latter while we're very good at the former. Unless, of course, define policy study as including a very clear, practical institutional analysis. But that means it has to be written not by academics but by practitioners. But policy studies are usually written by economists, by scientists, by social scientists, etc. So it's likely that they are not practitioners as well. So that's the challenge.
Okay, I'll answer the first question coming from the Department of Science and Technology. Actually, the climate projections that were presented in the video came from PAG-ASA. And we are coordinating closely with them because the scientific data that we actually comes from PAG-ASA in terms of us submitting our first and second national communication as part of our requirement in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And these projections are very critical for us to determine what are our actions, what are our initiatives in terms of policy planning. And as mentioned, it is important for us to have policy papers, background on where we can base our decisions. There are a lot of initiatives already happening in terms of areas where they conducted vulnerability assessment. For example, in Samar, where Samar Island protection, there's an issue there to protect a key biodiversity area in Samar. And the reason why this was done, because there was environment and natural resource accounting that was conducted there, looking at the environmental cost and actually compared to versus economic development or mining to be done in the area. So instead of development initiatives happening, it's more of protection that prevailed because of environment and natural resource accounting. So one of the steps that we are looking at in conducting our ecotowns is first having the base, having the studies in terms of vulnerability assessment, because that's area specific, and also looking at the topographical and the socioeconomic profile of the area. And from there, we can determine also what's the environmental cost in terms of development by having an environment and natural resource assessment. These studies are very critical for us to be able to determine what are the climate change adaptation and mitigation actions that are required for that specific area. So this is our guidelines for us to help local government units in putting together their, and actually doing their local climate change action plan. So this has already been initiated through demonstration sites. However, there are also a lot of local governments who are doing a lot already. And we are learning from them because of learning from their best practices and lessons learned, for example, in Batanes, and how they were able to actually, despite the severe weather that they have in Batanes, they were able to adapt. And these are kind of studies that we need to know how they were able to adapt in their own way and what are the challenges now in on looking at climate change, variability, and increase in temperature. But because as you saw in the video, by 2020, 2050, we're going to have hotter days and warmer days, and also wetter days. So what does that mean? This entails a lot of studies, which is very important for us to partner with the academe and the Department of Science and Technology. And for the ICT, that's where also the academe plays a key important role. Actually, these DOSTs were mandated to provide the information and technology to put up the structure in terms of ICT for us to be able to use those technology tools in our studies in the DOST and in the different projects where we are partnering with the academy. And it is very critical that these information are put on the ground through our education system. It's the Climate Change Act also mandates the DepEd, the Department of Education, and the Commission on Higher Education to mainstream climate change issues in their curriculum. And so far, we have been coordinating with them and looking for and starting this initiative with the concerned agencies. So that's it much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we don't, as usual, the case is always we don't have enough time for question and answer. Okay, so if you can find the email, you can email our distinguished resource speakers. Now is the time to provide our token of appreciation to our speakers. Let me just read first the content. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Mr. Jeremy T. Nishimori. We also have a copy for Congressman Jeremy T. Nishimori in recognition of his invaluable contribution to UPNC Pagat 60, Public Administration and Governance, Tradition and Transformation, an international conference held on 27 to 29 June 2012 at ESA Shangri-La, the city of Mandaluyong, blah, 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 National College of Public Health. Signed, Dean Esteban Laco and Dr. Danilo Reyes. Okay, so photo opportunity. Okay, next is to Ms. Calayan Pulido Constantino, the same thing, blah, blah, blah. And to Dean Tony Lavinia, same thing, blah, blah, blah. Thank you very much. Okay, photo opportunity. Now let's just pause for 1 minute as we change the background. Maybe I call now to our next set of speakers, Dr. Andreas Regne, Mr. Tito Fortes, and Lieutenant Colonel Vladimir Manta. Again, I was asked by the Secretary to remind you to come early tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Doors will be closed at 8:30 a.m. Our distinguished speakers who will inspire us that climate change adaptation, disaster risk reduction can be implemented even at their own initiative. Okay? So we have one case here of, I think, climate change adaptation going into disaster risk reduction. And then we have one case of the other way around, from disaster risk reduction to climate change adaptation, even without the disaster risk reduction law yet. Dr. Andreas Lange, where is he? Is he around? This is going to be the first one. Can I ask, where's Dr. Andreas? Who is Dr. Andreas Lange? Dr. Andreas Lange, Common CBT. Again, may we ask our resource speakers to limit their presentation for 15 minutes.